This is the tutorial for your contact sheet. So right now on the screen you can see that I have my community photos to edit, and this is a folder of like 12 or to 15 photos that I pulled from my memory card. So my memory card is open here. Just to refresh on like JPEG versus CR2, pull in the CR2s right now because that's the highest quality photo. I picked out the best ones that I wanted to use. Like a lot of you have already done for this project already. So drag that folder into Lightroom. And you most likely have used Lightroom already, so this is review. But this will just take a couple minutes to show you how to do this. You are importing to Lightroom with all your photos. So right now they'll populate, and these are the set of photos that I'm going to edit from. So right now I'm going to show you, go to the development tab when you're editing. First, for this one, I'm going to use the black and white contact sheet. So I'm going to bring all of the saturation down. So I put my saturation all the way to 0. I'm going to edit some other things like the blacks in the photo, the contrast, maybe a little bit of the exposure. And I'm going to copy this edit. So it replicates the exact edit that I just made. And bottom left copy, you're going to click copy and then go to the next photo. And right next to copy where it says paste, click on paste, and that will just copy that edit and paste for all of these. So I'm going to speed along here and show you that you can just do this pretty quickly. You can still alter what you need to. I'm going to pause right here where you can use this cropping tool to reorient photos. I don't think we've covered that. But if a photo is crooked, that's a good tool to use to just like minorly adjust a photo that keeps everything in a line. This is speeding up again too, copy and pasting my edits. I'm still altering exposures on some of these, so this will take more time than you see right now on the screen. But all of these are black and white because I'm going with the black and white contact sheet in this tutorial. So it depends if you're going with black and white or color in your contact sheet. You have to pick one or the other. It can't be a mix of both. I'm exporting right now, so you've done this before too, but you're putting it in subfolder. I'm going to just name it B&W for black and white, photos edited. Your title doesn't have to be that long. Go down, quality should be at 100 already. Resolution at 300. That's the optimal resolution for this tutorial. So I would just do the same thing and then hit export. So it should take a little bit, as you know, but I'm going to speed up along in this video so it doesn't take up too much time. So now that those photos are exported, they should be on the desktop in that folder I just titled. And now I'm opening up the template. So you should have downloaded this from Google Classroom, but the black and white contact sheet template. And I'm going to put my folder of photos right next to it. Right now on the screen you see my color contact sheet that I had already done, but now I'm going to show you the same process about how to do that with this black and white template. So the first thing I'm looking at is making sure that my layers on the right hand side are there. So you see layer 1 there. If it is not there on your computer, hit window, layers, and then if there's a check mark next to it, it should be there. So click on it if it's not there. And I just added a new layer by clicking on to the right of the trash can, or to the left of the trash can, a new layer. And that allows me to edit off of this because the first layer is locked and you can't edit anything on a layer that's locked. So you're working off new layer. The next thing I'm going to do is start pulling photographs into the template directly. So I'm starting with this vertical photo to place it in that vertical rectangle on the right hand side. And I am going to crop it. So actually let's resize it first. That's the first step. So using that right hand corner to shrink it. So you can use any side of the photo, but if you don't hold down shift, you'll get the orientation will be all messed up. So just make sure you're holding down shift when you are cropping, and you want it to fit in that rectangle. So I don't mind the top of the photo being cropped, so I'm going to place that bottom part of the photo right into the template. And you'll see at the top part, that's going off the template. It's going way beyond that white rectangle. So that's where I'm going to crop. So I have the photo selected, and it allows me to crop it by clicking crop image at the top. So let's see, I'm going to shrink it a bit and then find exactly where that would be. So I'm looking at the film bar on the side, and I just hit enter. So it cropped that top part. And just to make sure I didn't go beyond the photo, I'm going to crop it a little bit more to see if it went beyond the photo. But it looks like here that I'm actually was spot on. So let me just do Command Z for edit undo there. Or right click and click undo crop. So that photo's good. So I'm going to do that for all 9 of the photos or the places I'm placing them in. So I'm picking my 9 best. So I'm just speeding up along here. It takes a little bit sometimes to like get it perfectly where there's no additional white areas on the side of each photograph. So I'm just going to speed some of this along. So now here I'm like pulling in a horizontal photograph. So same thing, making it smaller, holding down that shift, finding it so it's like the correct measurements on 3 sides, and then on the left hand side I'm going to crop it. So same thing as vertical, but just a little bit different since it's horizontal. So this next one I'm just going to speed up too, same process. You'll get the hang of it too after each photo that you do, just with practice of like getting it exactly how you want it. Be intentional about the order. So if you have like a storyline, if you want to follow, this would be a good way to order them of like in chronological order of however you want to do that. Okay, so the next thing is you see that I'm going to pull in this vertical photograph, but there's no vertical spots left. What you can do here, and it actually makes it more authentic because contact sheets are like this all the time, where photos are not oriented the correct direction, that I'm going to crop it down, but then I'm going to just rotate it. So on that corner, I'm going to use that boomerang looking arrow to reposition it 90 degrees so it fits into that rectangle. And now I can shrink the size and do the same thing that I've been doing on all the other photographs, but this is just a different orientation. So crop it down, and if you have a bunch of vertical photographs, you can do the same thing. I think most of you have been photographing horizontal. So if you have only horizontal photographs, you can do the same thing for the vertical 2 positions on on the right hand side. So you might have to do that a couple times. So I'm going to speed this all up along again, and this will just be placing all the photographs into the 8 spots. I think I said 9 photographs, but there are 8 spots on this template, so I did not mean that. But fit them all in, and yeah, make sure they're cropped correctly, not stretched, but you're just recropping the photos. And there you go. I have all 8 photographs, not 9, 8. So you see here on my color context sheet, I have these red outlines on some of the photographs. And this is replicating a wax pen that people use in the darkroom for when they are printing their photograph. So we're going to replicate that same thing where you're picking your best photos. So in this case, I chose 3. And to do this, click on a new layer. So I just hit new layer, and then it says layer 3 there. So I'm working on top of everything I just did before. Click on the paintbrush tool on the left-hand toolbar. It might be in a different spot, but same toolbar. And what you do now is do window, brushes. And I already have this brush, but add a new brush on the bottom right-hand side by clicking that little symbol and click Bristles brush. Bristol brush? Yeah, I think I said that wrong. My bad. But click OK, and it should populate in the brushes. So click on that like swirl brush you see. I have it 3 times because I've done this a couple times. But the next thing, I want to recolor the brush. So make sure it's red and not the default black or white. So I click a bright red, And I'm going to also change my opacity. So if your opacity is not a thing on the top, what you do is do Windows toolbars and make sure the basic toolbar is up there, and opacity should be there. And the default is 100, but lower it to 65% to replicate this step. So I did that, and now I can use the same paintbrush to do this. I have the stroke outline is red and the fill color is blank. So make sure it's the stroke color and not the fill color. And what you do is really just draw on the photograph like a lot of you did for your album cover projects. And you are just boxing maybe your 2 to 4 best photographs that you'd hypothetically print if you were printing these photos. So all of these are your best photos, but these are like your solid top 2 to 4 images that you want to highlight in this contact sheet. And I'm going to do this for a couple of them. You see my lines aren't the clearest, but that is also a thing where the boxes that analog photographers use are never perfectly outlined the photograph, but it's just like a kind of a sloppy pen. So it's all right if your lines are really shaky, and actually the tool itself auto fixes like lines that are jagged or like you'll see here when I let go of the pen that it kind of cleans up the lines a little bit, and that should do that for you as well. There you go. So that's kind of it. That's the whole contact sheet. It looks exactly really like a contact sheet that you print in a darkroom. And what I'm doing now is just file, export as like you did for your album cover projects. Click on use artboards. Rename it at the top instead of black and white contact sheet template. I'm going to rename it to my name. You can change the format to TIFF, which is high quality, but also PNG works as well. So you see black and white contact sheet Mr. Lentz.tiff or .png depending on what you're doing. And then exporting it. So I'm going to speed this up because it usually takes a little bit of time to export it. But PNG should actually not take as a shorter amount of time because it's a smaller size. And then once you do that, make sure you save the working file. So the Adobe Illustrator AI file. Don't replace the template, but just rename this one too. So I'm going to rename it again, same thing, Mr. Lentz, and it won't save over the TIFF file because it's a different file type. So I saved it, and that's about it. So those are all the steps for the contact sheet. We covered this in class, but this is just a review, and you can follow along step by step.